This video is published by mbkpinternational.com. In this video, we're going to talk about replacing the main motor capacitor on the Guillotine XPC17 paper cutter. This would also be for the Guillotine EC17 paper cutter. It's the older version of this. It has a clear shield up front instead of these infrared grids. But anyway, we're going to replace that. Let's go around back here. First thing you're going to want to do is take this back shield off. This just slides out. Next thing you're going to do is take this back table off. And basically it's just these here. And it just slides straight back. Now if you want, you can take the other side off if you need some more working room, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, but you could do it on one side if you wanted to, but just gives you a little more working room. Just take this, to take the other side off. Okay, what we're going to be doing is replacing this capacitor down here. And I'm going to get my tools ready. We're going to put this on pause. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove. What we're going to do is we're going to replace this capacitor. You're going to need some wire cutters. You're going to need some wire strippers, and you're going to need a short Phillips screwdriver. And before we start here, I'm going to go ahead and move this forward as far as it'll go. You can do this by hand when it's powered off. So that's another thing. Make sure this is unplugged from power. No power to it whatsoever. Even if it's turned off, you can still have power going through it. So unplug this from power. Okay, I'm going to move this forward. You can just do this by hand, like I said. I'll just do a little more. Get that forward as far as it'll go. Okay, we're going to take this off here. And there's a Phillips screwdriver right here. Or Phillips screw, sorry. And one on the other side. And it's the paper that goes between it, just between this and the metal on that there. So just keep that to the side here. And it's best just take this cap off here. It just pops off, gives you a little more room. Get these wires kind of out of the way here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this off here. It's got these on it right here, so, or most of them do. And I'm just going to use either pliers, or you can use your wire strippers here. And you can see where it's crimped there, so I'm just going to kind of squeeze it a little bit there and open up the crimp a little bit to pull this plastic cap off, so I can cut the wire a little closer to get as much wire as we can get. Just trying to take this plastic cap off right now. And to pull it straight off, you got to kind of crimp it back the other way to where it will pop off. You can squeeze it around different areas if you need to eventually come. Okay, with that off, you can cut this wire. You want these wires as long as possible to give you something to work with. So now you can, you're getting rid of this, so you're going to cut it on the other side of this connector here. My wire cutters here. And just keep note that one of these is connected to the black wire, and the other two, in this case, they're typically the same, but they could be different on yours. But there's always a black wire, it tends to be. And if it's not, then you need to make sure you make note of which one is the single one and which one is the double one. But right now, I know the black is the single. It goes to one of them, so I'll cut that there. And the other two go to the other side. I'll take that out of the way, and we're going to replace it with this one here. And you'll have these two little wire nuts on here. Okay, now it doesn't matter which side it goes to, but you are going to need to strip these wires. And these are stranded wires. I don't know if your strippers will say it, but there's a solid on the stranded side. But it's the 18 on the stranded side. That's the one you're going to be using. So you're going to come back and get about a ½ inch off or so. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other two. Okay, and I got all three wires stripped. Again, these two are on one, and this is on the other. So let's get this one first. Again, it doesn't matter which wire goes to which, but this one has to go to this one here. And just try to keep all the strands. It makes sure there's no strands, one single strand that makes it all straight together here. Go on nice and easy. Don't bend any single strands back to where a strand could be hanging out. There's an arc on this thing. Just tighten it nice and tight. And make sure, pull on a little bit, make sure pull on both wires both ways, and pull on, make sure it got on there good, and it is. Now I'm going to do the other one with these 2 wires. Get down a little lower so they can see. Just try to line them up. Again, try to keep all the strands straight on them. Just line them up as best they can together. You can start it by twisting them a little bit if you need to. But most of the twisting is done with this thing here. Okay, nice and tight. Pull on the thing, pull on each individual wire. Make sure nothing comes out, it's all in there good. Okay, and that's basically it, other than I'm closing it back up, and that'll be our next step here. We'll close it back up. You will need to just basically put this inside this cap here. Try to get it as close as here as possible, and the excess wire and these wire twists here, you just kind of stuff them down in there a little bit, out of the way as much as possible. And you're going to need this, I don't know if it's parchment paper or what this stuff is, but it's just to prevent this from touching the metal. So you want to kind of get it in there, and usually about that much there, just a little bit on each side. And on each side there, just covers it. Make sure you cover the wires too. And then you're just going to put this on here. You can look for your 2 holes here where the screws went in, or just look for the one back one, and then kind of line it up to it. You can get one of your screws and put it on your screwdriver. Let's get it on my screwdriver here. Okay, I got one of these screws ready. Put it in there. Now just kind of fish for the hole. Move it around till you find that hole there. I got it. I got it lined up. Okay, now get that one started. Just lightly snug it, and then you get your other one. And it would be easier because you got the other one in. And you should be very close. There it is, right there. Tighten it up. Snug them nice and tight. You want over tight because they'll just break this plastic, but you want them fairly tight, snug tight. Okay, you can check these if you want to make sure they're tight. This is a different capacitor. It's typically, if anything ever happens, like your blade gets stuck or whatever and doesn't want to move, it's a capacitor problem. That means that it basically gives it the starting power, and sometimes the blades will get stuck in the middle somewhere and it won't move. So we replace the capacitor, or sometimes, like when you push the buttons and the blade's it just sits there and hums. The motor hums and it doesn't move at all. It's stuck somewhere and it doesn't want to move. This capacitor gives us its starting power to get started. Okay, now we're just going to put everything back. So let's start with that. I'm going to move this back forward a little bit. So far back. And you're just going to slide these under. Just do this nice and slow. You just rest it on its side here. And just slide this back right under this, nice and slow. And then when it gets to here, you may have to lift up a little bit to get it on top of that. And then slide it into place. Same thing with this one. And you rest it right on this edge, and then just slide it right on this edge here. And right under this, right into that slot there. Nice and easy. You might have to lift up here just a little bit, possibly. And sometimes this thing is kind of pinching a little bit. If you need to, you can loosen these two and lift this up just a little bit on either side. Sometimes you don't have to. You can just kind of pop it into place. Yeah, it was a tight fit between the bottom of this and where it needed to go, but you can usually pop it into place. Then come back here and basically line up your screws. You can tap on this to line the screw holes up. Same with this side, those look pretty good. So that's basically it. We're going to put these screws back in. You can start them there. I'm just going to do this quick, but you can just obviously want to tighten them down. And the last one over here. And once you get those screws tightened down, you can put your lid back in place, and it just slides back in place with this part hanging down. You should have that sticker in it. That goes to the end. And this basically just rotate. If you could maybe take that all the way up. If you did like me and just left it hanging, you'll just have one screw to put back into place. And I'm not sure what I did with those. Here they are. Okay, so that's basically it. You get those in place. And just tighten all these down, tighten that down, and then you get your other one rotated up in place, and you're done. It's a fairly easy process. You just got to make sure you get those wires on good and make sure there's no strands of those wires sticking out. Make sure you got them all inside that little twist plug for electrical. This video is published by mbkpinternational.com.